100 Days of Gratitude, Day 9. And today I'm reflecting on my gratefulness for energy. And in particular, let's get into it. I'm not talking about metaphysical energy, but literal energy, specifically that which comes from oil and gas and coal and all the sources that we rely on for, I hope I can make the case for literally our prosperity and freedom. And it's so funny because, you know, years ago, I might have been one of those people that would have joined, the kind of climate change activists that would have, been smearing famous paintings. No, I don't think I would have taken it that far. But to have matured, to have this perspective that I now have in relation to gratitude for oil and gas. Wow, who would have thought? Big shift came a number of years ago. My friend who now lives in Peru, very similar, kind of like earthy, kind of nature loving. And I remember her just saying outright, she's like, I love natural gas, and I probably could have saved this video for like a day where it was like minus 40 just to drive home the point a bit more. But as she did, she's like, look, we're all so dependent on it. And maybe I'll put in a little disclaimer here. This doesn't mean that, of course, there are not problems with oil and gas. There are things to improve about all of our energy sources, no doubt, right? There are issues. And we need to acknowledge, it's like biting the hand that feeds us. We need to acknowledge the level of freedom and prosperity that these sources of energy create for us. Absolute abundance. Every single thing about your standard of living right now is dependent on oil and gas in one shape, form, or another. And, we can broaden that, right? It's not all oil and gas, although it's, definitely oil. I mean, it is the foundation of the economy, the energy. Energy is the economy. What is energy? It's the ability to produce, value. It is wealth, direct connection, almost more than anything else. And just to kind of give you an idea, so 1 barrel of oil equals 25,000 human hours in terms of energy input, right? So what we can do with oil, right, is not only can we, create things like machines, we can also feed it to machines that will perform all kinds of work, whether that is helping with agriculture, whether that, to grow our food, to transport our food, to create our clothes. Like, it goes on and on and on. There's not a single aspect of any part of your life that is not touched magically, absolutely magically, by oil. And so if you imagine, so 1 barrel of oil equals the kind of human energy output of 25,000 hours. And so that's literally 12 and a half years of a human working, and again, at tasks that probably a human couldn't even do. But if we're just talking energy equivalent, 12 and a half years at 40 hours a week. And so now the question is, how much oil, barrels of oil, does the average North American use in a year? Well, turns out it's 60 plus. So in a year, through the miracle of oil and technology and everything else, we are taking advantage of, at a bare minimum, 60 years of human energy labor just in a year, right? And so what does that translate to in terms of abundance, what we're able to create? By historical standards, we live in an absolutely abundant time beyond the imagination of any of our ancestors to know what we have, and have access to, not only in terms of, physical, tangible goods of real value and wealth, like food, like clothing, like materials, like, you name it, the homes we live in, but also, things like energy, like heat, like get through a North American winter without oil and gas. Electricity, primarily, at least here in Alberta, comes from coal. So I get it, there's issues with those things, but we also got to recognize how amazing and how incredible they are. And I kind of laugh at myself at how kind of immature it was to really criticize oil and gas and demonize it. And again, not to excuse the problems that it has, but to really just be fair and acknowledge, like a spoiled brat, in terms of what was being provided, and yet all I would do is, complain about it or right? Anyways, I think you get the point. It does provide so much abundance. It is at the foundation of our level of freedom, right? Freedom in time to do other things. I would say without oil and gas, we would be slaves. So slaves literally in our own life in terms of, labor, time, energy invested just for basic everyday things that now we don't even need to think about, right? It's done for us, or it's done in an instant, in a fraction of the second that it would take. Any number of things, like moving yourself, from point A to point B, moving any sort of good or service, food as an example. There's so much there that it, allows us a freedom of time. And let us not forget that once we discovered utilizing the power, most things were done with human labor, human power. And once we shifted to, and I think probably the biggest revolution was, the advent of steam and the steam engine, to be able to use that as a power source, to be able to move things, that freed up human time and labor. We found efficiency in, burning wood and, and then next coal, to create this sort of energy, to power things that humans then didn't have to do it. So it freed up our time, but it also literally freed humans. So when you talk about, okay, we all use 12,500 energy units, from a barrel of oil, and how many barrels of oil each equivalent energy do we all use? We're getting that energy source, we're getting that productivity from a resource which is not a human. And so humans then didn't need to capture other humans and have them as servants, or very oftentimes in the case of slaves, you didn't need somebody else to do all those things. You had machines and energy sources that could power those, and that has literally freed up humans. So I would say 100% our freedom and our abundance, that which we know and enjoy and literally take for granted in life, is due to things like oil and gas. Now, is there something better out there? Yeah, for sure. There absolutely is. Has some of that technology been repressed? Yes, absolutely. Right? But let's not, let's first get our foundation of being grateful for what we have and continue to move forward in a way that will come to the next best thing, that's cleaner, that's more efficient, that is. And maybe I'll do another podcast on something that even more controversial than saying I'm grateful for oil and gas, which I'll save that for another one. It's even more efficient. It's unbelievable. The potential, the energy return from this particular substance. So anyways, today, there we are. Who would have thought Malcolm in his 40s is grateful for oil and gas. Should I get one of those stickers? I love Alberta oil and gas. No, I don't think I need to go that far, but my appreciation is there. I hope it is there for you, that reflection of literally every single aspect of your life. The freedom, the abundance, the prosperity that we have has its foundation with oil and gas. For sure, there are things to improve about that, but let's really acknowledge and celebrate the level of abundance and prosperity that it offers us. So there we are, 100 Days of Gratitude, day 9.